All right. Welcome, welcome. Hi,
Hi, Leslie.
Tina. Well, here we are, episode two, kicking off. Our first real topic here that we want to bring, um, that we want to discuss. So, why don't we move into into the tailgate?
So, what we are cooking up today is a very controversial human resources trend known as the 996. So, what we do know is that trends for human resources and business start in other regions and typically bring their influence into our community and space at some point. We also know that not all of those trends are welcome or would be a good culture fit, but we definitely need to take the time to understand them, understand their impact, and understand how to manage these trends.
Okay, excellent. So, I'm going to kick it off then with this trend that we learned. Now, I had a friend, Anna, who told me about this, and I was shocked actually. And then she sent me the link to the article, and it's in Wired Magazine, published July 23rd, 2025. And it reads this. The headline is Silicon Valley AI startups are embracing China's controversial 996 work schedule. Okay, so you can go in and read the details in this particular article. But really, what they're saying here is that there have been a lot of layoffs in the area, in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, and employers in these AI startups have been basically asking their existing or remaining employees to work a 996 schedule, meaning to work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. And for those who have been applying for positions, they essentially are letting them know if you're not willing to commit to this work schedule, uh, you know, essentially they're not going to get hired. So I just thought this was eye opening. If this is something that's sort of happening right now in Silicon Valley, we really want to discuss the impacts of how that can impact us, nationwide and other areas. So Tina, why don't we get into the huddle? What are some of your thoughts on this trend?
Yeah, Leslie, when you brought this topic to me, it was very eye opening. And we are already in a situation where employees are demanding balance.
Yep.
They are looking for relief and they want to work a little bit different than the other generations. So, as a human resources professional and a business owner, there's a lot of challenge with this trend. And the reality of the situation is we already have so many quiet quitters. If we put more time to include a 6 day schedule on our employees' plates, what is their presenteeism going to be? What does absenteeism look like? What does mental health look like? And is the productivity going to be there for profitability? This trend leaves me asking more questions than having answers on this topic.
I completely agree. I just think it's extremely concerning. We kind of remember there was this whole era of like the 4 hour work week, and now we're at the opposite end of the spectrum where we're really trying to figure out, how many hours can I squeeze out of this human being? And I think that's really where this is getting lost. It's like these are people, these are human beings, they're not robots. I understand you're working on AI, but they're not robots. Human beings need rest, they need to eat, they need time. Their brains need to rest even. So the whole thought that a 72-hour work week is becoming, I guess is trending in that part of the country. I can't imagine that that would be, you know, I don't know what the positive impact could possibly be on the business. I don't think there's anyone who could work, back to back 72-hour weeks for any extended amount of time. obviously people are going to start to look to work elsewhere if that's what's being demanded of them. I think it's really hard to have a life, have a family, you know, and just be productive in general, right? I think that, like we've talked about before, your employees are the engine, they're the heartbeat of your business. If they're not functioning, if they're not happy, they're definitely not going to be loyal, and that's really just going to cost you more in the end. So, all right, let's okay, so let's move into our most valuable point. So, I think just to kind of wrap up what we've been saying here is that businesses really need to think about what is important. Are you just focused on, the dollars, or are you focused on the people? There has to be a balance of both. It is probably not going to be cost effective for you to demand a 72-hour work week of your people. And I really hope that this is not something that's going to be, looked at for other businesses to adopt in other industries, or, in other locations. I think that that could be really a dangerous precedent um, for employers and employees. So we want to actually hear from you, Tina.
Know that it's controversial. We want to hear your thoughts, your lens, and maybe even possibly your experience with the 996. So join us in the locker room and let's have some fun talking about the trend and whether we think that this trend will ever make an impact in our backyard.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. We look forward to seeing your comments and engaging with you um, in our post. We will see you next week on our next episode. Take care.
Thank you.